A dead man's body floated in the Atlantic Ocean for 11 days before Spanish fishermen pulled him from the water. His name was Glyndwr Michael. He had died alone in a London warehouse, poisoned by rat bait he had eaten in desperation. And in the spring of 1943, British intelligence turned his corpse into one of the most elaborate deceptions in the history of modern warfare. Here is the truth that should stop you cold. The men who ran this operation did not hesitate. They dressed a homeless man's body in a borrowed uniform, chained a briefcase to his wrist, and dropped him into the sea, and it worked. To understand how this was possible, you have to understand the world these men lived in. Britain in 1943 was 3.5 years into the most destructive war in human history. Over 70 million people would die before it ended. Rationing covered everything: meat, sugar, clothing, petrol. London still bore the wounds of the Blitz. 60,000 British civilians had already been killed by German bombs. In that climate, the men of the XX Committee, British military intelligence, operated in a world where the normal rules of the dead did not apply. The living needed every advantage they could manufacture, and they were willing to manufacture one from a corpse. The man who conceived this plan was Ewan Montagu, a naval intelligence officer and barrister in civilian life. His colleague was Charles Comandelli of MI5. Together they proposed something that in peacetime would have been unthinkable. They would find a dead body. They would give it a false identity. They would plant fabricated military documents on it. Then they would release it into the sea near Spain, knowing German intelligence operated freely there, and wait. The body had to be convincing, not just the uniform. The man himself had to be real. Montagu and Comandelli built a complete human life around Glyndwr Michael's corpse. They named him Captain William Martin of the Royal Marines. They gave him a rank, a service number, and a fictional fiancée named Pam. They wrote her love letters and kept them in his pocket. They gave him overdue bills, a receipt from a London shirt maker, a stern letter from his bank, theatre ticket stubs, a photograph of Pam, slightly creased at the edge, as a photograph carried close to the heart would be. Every detail was chosen to pass the scrutiny of German intelligence officers, who would search every seam of his clothing. And those officers would be looking, because the briefcase chained to Captain Martin's wrist contained documents that appeared to reveal Allied invasion plans pointing not to Sicily, the obvious target, but to Sardinia and Greece. Now here is where the operation becomes extraordinary. The body was packed in dry ice aboard a British submarine, HMS Seraph, and transporting to the coast of Spain near Huelva. On the morning of April 30th, 1943, the submarine surfaced in darkness. The crew slid the body into the water. A Me Westlife jacket kept it afloat. A Spanish fishing boat found it hours later. Spain was officially neutral, but the German Abwehr military intelligence had deep roots there. Within days, German agents had photographed every document in the briefcase. Within weeks, those photographs sat on the desk of Adolf Hitler. Hitler believed them. He personally ordered reinforcements to Greece and Sardinia. He pulled an entire panzer division from Sicily. When the Allies landed in Sicily on July 10, 1943, they faced a weakened defense. The operation is credited with saving thousands of Allied lives. Some historians place that number above 40,000. All of it rested on the body of a man who had no family to claim him, a man who had died with nothing, whose death, in the brutal arithmetic of wartime intelligence, became enormously useful. The people who built this deception worked in conditions that would strike a modern office worker as absurd. They had no computers, no databases, no secure digital communication. They typed on manual typewriters and burned their drafts in office fireplaces. They coordinated between MI5, the Navy, the Foreign Office, and the War Cabinet through handwritten memos carried by human couriers. The fake letters from Pam were written by a real woman, Jean Leslie, an MI5 secretary. The letter from the fictional General Nye to General Alexander was drafted and redrafted over weeks, every phrase calibrated to sound casual but leak strategic detail. The operation was given a name taken from a thriller the planners had been reading. They called it Operation Mincemeat. Glyndwr Michael was buried in Glyndwr under the name William Martin. For 12 years, the British government kept the secret. In 1956, Ewan Montagu published his account. The world learned what had been done. In 1998, a researcher named Roger Morgan confirmed the true identity of the body. Glyndwr Michael's name was added to the grave marker in Spain. He had been born in Wales in 1909. He was 34 years old when he died. He had lived as no one. He was buried as a hero. The next time you carry something in your wallet, a receipt, a photograph, a small proof that you exist, consider what those fragments say about you. The men of British intelligence understood that a human life leaves physical traces. They reconstructed one from paper and fabric alone, and it convinced the most dangerous military machine in history. The question worth sitting with is this: what would it mean for your identity to depend entirely on what is in your pockets? A new piece of forgotten history arrives on this channel every Tuesday and Saturday. If this story is the kind you want to receive, subscribing is the simplest way to ensure the next one finds you.